So apparently the incentive to get you back in the room is for me to give away prizes, which are fabulous. And I think someone said I'm going to give away 7 of them, so I'm just going to do it 7 times. The giveaway table is over there behind dude with what's your name again? Dave, behind Dave with the red hair, who has been super helpful. What am I doing? I'm doing this thing, that's right. Okay. I'm going to stumble through some impromptu thank yous. Thank you to all the cool people. Thank you. What? Oh, right. So, okay, yes. Thank you, Sean. That is appreciated. Thank you, Sean, for causing me to not do embarrassing things. All right, so are we ready for some giveaways? Can we get the podium computer on the big screen? All right, this is the famous name pickinator that we have. And are you ready to go? Who's going to be? Who's it going to be? I'm not sure if we're going to have time to do this 7 times. We'll just see. If your name's still showing, you're still in the running. Oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Emily, are you in the room yet? Emily J. Linema. Her stuff's there. She gets no prize. She's gone. Out. She's through. All right. That's how it works. You must be present to win. Is this still on the clipboard? There we go. All right. Still on prize number 1. If this takes too long, I'm not going to give away 7 prizes, but we'll see. All right. It's going again. Round and round she goes, et cetera, et cetera. So this one time, I don't know. I don't have anything. I used to be a math teacher. It was Jason Vargas. Yes! All right, so make your way to the back table. Pick any prize that looks good. Oh, the manga set counts as 1 prize. So you get like 8 volumes of manga, that would be 1 prize, or any of the other items individually is a prize. All right, while that's going on, we will do round 2. All right. Round 2 of the big prize. B37. This is maddening. Adam Kahan? How do you say that? Did I say it right? All right. Congratulations, sir. Ah! All right. Prize number 3. Is Jean here? Jean? Oh, there she is. All right. So that was number 3. This is number 4. How are we doing on time? Oh, meanwhile, will the lightning talk people come up here and be ready to do lightning talks, like line up somewhere awkwardly? If you were on this list, if you wrote something here, Mitchell Rowe. Mitchell Rowe, are you present? Rowe, comma, Mitchell. No. You lose. Where are all my lightning talkers? Where are my lightning talkers at? Get up here, don't be shy. Oh, I need to click. There we go. And just line up in the order of whatever the thing is, because I don't really know. William Erickson. Present? Yes? No? Present? Yes! right, let's do one more, I think. Go. Thank you. Ray's got it. Oh, Mr. Dice. There he is, wandering in like he owns the place. All right, I think that'll be our last giveaway for now, so we can stay on schedule. Up first is Programming Committee. They're having a huddle, apparently. Can we get the timer set to 5 minutes, please? All right. All right, Programming Committee.
It's like, yeah, don't leave me standing.
All right. Programming Committee, everyone.
Well, I was going to introduce us, but it looks like, Dre did that for us. That's way too close. So I don't know if it's apparent to you guys. It should be. It was very apparent to us as we were going through our all the proposals that our speakers are very white. There is not a whole lot of diversity. So just to start off, this is what I ask. When you walk into a room, count. Count the women, count the people of color, count by race, look for who isn't there, look for class signs, the crooked teeth of childhoods without braces, worn out shoes, someone else who is counting. Look for the queers, the older people, the overweight. Note them, see yourself looking, see yourself reacting. This is how we begin. It's a quote by Quinn Norton. Andromeda Yalton had put together an article that started off with that quote, and it was talking about diversity with the LIDA Forum. And we, as a program committee, had briefly looked at numbers for code4lib. Maybe caring isn't good enough. Keep in mind that these numbers are pretty rough, but one thing code4lib does is we tend to have the gender pretty equal. It's 50% men or 40% men for last year, but we're not as diverse as we talk about being. As a profession, as a conference, we're not doing a very good job to foster diversity. So what can we do to fix this? It's clear that code4lib has a bug, and we want to talk about now, how do we fix this? How do we take action? Outreach, recruitment, funding, doing stuff with the submission process. When the call for proposals goes out, it may be too late to bring in a lot more diverse, more voices, new people who never would have thought to submit. How can we change the way we pursue projects now at our places of work to recruit new speakers for 2017? It's not simply about hearing the best proposals, it's also about hearing new voices. How can we encourage projects right now that might produce submissions for 2017? Some things to think about. What can you do better? We're a community. That's something that's been thrown around and is something that code4lib really holds to. So what can we do as a community, but also as an individual? We're sitting next to each other. We talk to each other. We are socializing. We're talking about the projects we're working on. So what can we do better to increase the diversity in our program, in people who come to code4lib? Start recruitment now. So we're here, we're in this energy of conference. So talk to people, see what they want to do, encourage them. If you've been at code4lib multiple times, you know who comes. There are common faces. Encourage new faces to submit and to participate. One thing that we were talking about on the program committee is outreach. Don't let it be a missed opportunity. Go out of your way to brainstorm speakers outside the usual white academic bailiwick to extend invitations beyond that. Ask others to submit. And offer feedback on their submissions. Don't just say, hey, you should submit and let them be. If we want this to change, we have to do it as a community. We need to encourage it and invite others to participate. If you're planning to submit a proposal, one thing you could do is don't do it alone. Ask somebody to submit with you. Proposing a talk is unbelievably terrifying, at least from my view. I imagine people who are new to the community, who don't know these inside jokes, don't know these things, are equally terrified. So if somebody says, hey, you should submit something, maybe you should partner with them. If you've done a talk or you're looking to talk, say, hey, do you want, and you're doing stuff through breakout sessions, you have same project ideas, invite them to submit with you. Creating partnerships to increase diversity. This was something that was briefly discussed and talked about, and these were ones that are specifically based in New York, but it can be anywhere. We can't have a diverse program if our submissions are not diverse to begin with. So look to partner with programs and organizations that have outreach efforts. Our outreach efforts are not an investment in the future of the community, and a reevaluation of the contribution framing our existing projects, who are we collaborating with? Think about that. Think who you want to collaborate with, people who are working on stuff that really foster diversity. That's something that we can do. Just ideas for house changes. Am I out of time? You were supposed to. Well, then we're going to go straight to join us in discussion. We're going to have a breakout session tomorrow, and if you can't go to the breakout session, we've done a Google group. I don't know how to, hold on. Yeah, we'll tweet the link. So join us in helping foster this change.
Thank you, guys. Now it's time for a static site generator for finding aids, according to the thing.
Hi.
Do you have your thing here?
No, I need to pull it up on a browser.
Ah, you with your browsers and the whatnots.
I know.
There's a browser.
Okay.
There.
Thanks. Whoa, somebody's already looked at it on this computer. That's weird. Hi. It's really hard to type and talk at the same time. Hi, my name's Hillel Arnold. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Hal Rond in most places. If you want to find me and talk about this afterwards, I'm the head of digital programs at the Rockefeller Archive Center. And I want to talk about Static Aid, which is a static site generator for archival description. There's a couple links up here if you'd rather look at code or the live version of the site. That's the first link. Or something I wrote about that I'm mostly going to reprise. That is the last link. So first of all, just a few thank yous to people who helped kind of inform my thinking about this. At this year's EduI conference, there was a lot of talk about static sites that got me thinking down this line, particularly Henrik Jurtek's talk about some of the work that he's done in building static site generators. And also a big shout out to the code4lib, this year's organizing committee. The conference site is a static site that's uses GitHub pages that I'll talk about a bit more. And then lastly, thanks to Trevor and the other folks at NCSU who also really informed my thinking around how we can use archive space. So basically what this does is it uses the archive space REST API, pulls down the JSON responses, and then using some Jekyll templates renders some HTML pages, right? It's just HTML, JavaScript, and CSS that gets served up. So it uses these standard API endpoints for archive space. Nothing fancy about them. There's no data transformation, anything. And then it uses a little Python script to make some placeholder pages. And then Jekyll does its Jekyll thing and turns those JSON data and those templates into HTML pages. So you end up with HTML pages for collections, for archival objects, or like the components within that collection, for subjects, and for agents, so people, families, and corporate bodies. This is all responsive because it's built using Bootstrap because I'm a lazy developer. There's embedded schema.org metadata, and it's super fast because it's just an HTML page. This is not perfect, right? So I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that this is a silver bullet to solve all your woes. But it's kind of an interesting thought exercise, right? So there's no search. That's kind of a problem. My thinking is that maybe you build a search interface in some other JavaScript framework. And then I duck when people throwing things at me. It's not, at this point, it's not as pretty as or as fancy as what we saw earlier this morning. So why should you care about this? Why is it a thing? Why am I talking about it? Well, first of all, speed matters a lot, and I can tell you as someone who gets the call, when our finding aids load too slowly and keep loading too slowly and keep loading too slowly and the server crashes, it matters. But it also matters because in an increasingly mobile web, the amount of data that you're loading actually matters when you're on 3G connections and collections that are maybe going down, although this one hasn't. So maintainability matters a lot. It's a really, really simple stack. So all you have to have is an archive-based instance. The repositories, I've set it up, bundle some things together with Grunt. You don't have to use that. You could really just use Python to execute the scripts. And then if you just push this up to a GitHub repository and use GitHub Pages, which has Jekyll built in, boom, instant finding aids. That's all you need. So there's no excuse for anyone not to have their archival description online. The other cool thing is that it doesn't use XML or EAD. There's a couple of advantages to that. One is that we spend a lot of CPU cycles pushing out and serializing these complicated XML documents and then re-ingesting them into some other system. So this kind of bypasses all that, which allows you to do things in a more granular way, particularly updates. It also allows you to use version control for content, which is really something that we should all be doing with our data, but surprisingly few archives are. And lastly, it allows you to use the right tool for the job. If you're on the archive space listserv, you'll see that there's a lot of messages about EAD import and export, and it not like importing all of people's, very special indented lists. This kind of works around all of that. So those links will probably be helpful to you. If you want more information, thanks. Feel free to catch me and shout at me later.
All right. Up next, we have Greg, who has taken the perhaps extremely risky approach of providing his own hardware. We'll see how this goes. I take no responsibility for this. AV guys, is anything going to break if I just yank this? All right, yanked. Oh, why? Yeah, no, the other way, because I'm sorry. I haven't had too much coffee yet today, so. Undo connect of, why don't, no. Make connect, I
walked up and asked. I'll go later.
All right, Greg will go later. He did ask, I'll give him that, and I wasn't thinking that there was a thing in the universe, and so I take full responsibility. So we'll just put Greg in slot 10 while I flub through this. This doesn't work very well. Accessible digital video libraries for humans and machines.
I have to find it.
Oh, yeah. Is it?
Oh, no, it was a web.
Oh, it was in a web browser? Okay.
Yeah, I think I just,
There, this one?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, hi, I'm Drew Gordon, and I'm a data curator at the Databrary project, and that's a disciplinary repository that helps researchers store and share video data. But what I want to talk about today is just more generally accessible digital video libraries for humans and machines, but emphasis on machines. So a question for all of you, are our digital video collections machine readable? Let me first take you to the future. We're now in 2026. Automatic metadata generation for videos is now very feasible with transcription services and annotation and even neural networks. And congratulations, you're a digital library manager. And you have a choice in developing your architecture. So you may render these services, transcription, annotation, and neural networks on your video files before pushing them up to your where they're accessible. Or alternatively, imagine putting them up in a standard fashion and allowing these services to connect, connect to your video collections where they stand, and you get an aggregate benefit from that. So welcome back to the present. We're in 2016 and it's Philly again. What I want to talk about more generally is how I sort of looked into this issue of programmatically getting access to video over the web, and I looked into the Digital Public Library of America because it's an unprecedented ability to access a lot of video all in one place. There's about 27,000 moving image items, if I got this correct as of last month. If I didn't, I apologize. From 17 different providers or hubs, I suppose, and that's representing 51 different institutions. But a standardized search and a single API for all of that. So with that, I stood up sort of a trivial Twitter bot, dpla.gif, that fetches a random moving image from DPLA. Ooh, that looks, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna just switch over to this rule, but anyway, it goes and grabs a video and downloads it. Did I just kill the, wow. Sorry about that. Okay, so in any event, it goes and it downloads a video and it carves out a 3-second portion for a GIF with FFmpeg and it posts that. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the challenges of that, mainly in actually downloading the videos, because if you, this is counting against, the timer's also like not even going, I'm sorry. Okay. So unlike images, video files are very large. You can't really store derivatives of them locally. I would understand why the DPLA would not want to do that. There are only a few providers. In fact, I think only the National Archives provides a direct URL to the resource from the metadata that they provided to the DPLA. And finally, so what I had to do was just kind of download them directly from the host sites for them. So you have to sort of create these kind of scraping profiles for each and every one of them where it's feasible and doesn't completely mess with the rights and restrictions around them. Although maybe I'm making somebody upset, I don't know. But so those are the difficulties. Looking ahead, what can we be doing? What can we be thinking about, right? Video is very large. It has to be distributed, but make it interoperable, right? It wouldn't be centralized, but make it interoperable. Make it more accessible for machines to get at where it stands, and then allow services from the outside to connect to them. And then some of the solutions, more specifically, use open standards, right? HTML5 video elements. Jason Ronaldo gave an excellent talk last year about implementing some of these, particularly more for human accessibility. I recommend you go check that out. Schema.org video object tags can tell machines where about the duration of the video, the encoding, and its relationship to other resources and collections, and provide a URL in the metadata or an API for searching. Easy, right? No, it's not. I'm sorry, I don't have the answers, but it's just sort of, my purpose here wasn't really to tell you how to do this, right? It's just more to convince you that this is a valuable thing to approach to make your video collections more accessible to machines. And that's all I have, so happy to talk more about this. And I don't, is that actually 24 seconds left? Okay. Yeah, so happy to talk more about this. You can reach me at these places, and if you're interested in taking a look at the code for the bot, it's at Accidental Culture repository on GitHub. Thank you very much.
We're changing out hardware. This is exciting. Whoever invented dongles is, I have words for them.
It's always a fun challenge with, my JavaScript isn't so good, and so my demo is dependent upon screen size. Okay, so the Internet Archive has a lot of interesting book data, and so we've OCR'd the contents of a large number of books. And so for this demo, what I did was I tried to think of interesting ways that you could visualize the data which is inside of books. And so if you take a concept like the Gregorian calendar, and you graph the frequency of sentences that contain Gregorian calendar and a date, this is what that graph looks like. So you notice there's 3 spikes sticking up there. And it turns out that the tallest spike here is when Pope Gregory promulgated the calendar in the first place. And so those are sentences from books with the year 1581 in Gregorian calendar. So the second spike here, and these are hard to hit because I said my JavaScript isn't very good. I'm not kidding. So these are 1 pixel wide, and it's difficult to hit them on many laptops. But in 1751 is when England adopted the Gregorian calendar, and then here in 1919, this third spike here, 1918 actually, is when Bolshevik Russia, after the revolution, adopted the Gregorian calendar. So there's a lot of patterns you can actually see in this. So that gave you the history of the Gregorian calendar in a nutshell. This is Joan of Arc, and as you probably know, she was active in the 15th century. So that secondary spike of stuff up in the 1900s, that's actually scholarship about Joan of Arc, because of course, just because a date and a thing appear in a sentence together doesn't mean that they're related in an obvious way. That's another way that they might be related. Take a country like a name of a country like Ghana. So Ghana was very important in the evolution of political structures of Africa back in the pre-colonial era. Plus, they played a very large role in Ghana during the post-colonial era. They were one of the first countries to become independent in the post-colonial era. So I have a blog post about this, and I'll put the URL out on all the various social media things that we have. How will we explore books in the 21st century? So I'm hoping to invent 2, 3, 4 more visualizations like this so that we can have something in between card catalog search and full text search of books for that fantasy 5, 6, 7 years from now when we have a large fraction of all books scanned and their content available for analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, for only taking 2.5 minutes, thus making up for all the crazy mistakes I've made. Okay, up next, So You're Going to Die. Where is the appropriate, there it is.
Short. Can everybody hear me okay? My voice pitch is low and I worry about that a lot. Also, ears not correspondent with chronological age. So I'm Angela Galvin, I'm from SUNY Geneseo, and my talk is So You're Going to Die. It's okay to take my picture right now, if you want. And second, from the title, the talk mentions death and dying. If that's not okay for you right now, please do what you need to take care of yourself. I'm not going to be offended or what have you by that. And also, whenever I've given a talk on this subject, there's lots of adorable animal pictures to look at. So feel free to have your attention wander as you need. So the one thing we all know that's going to happen eventually, besides systems migration, because I'm a systems librarian, is that we're all going to die. I find this fascinating for some of us. Because for some of us, goth wasn't a phase that we moved out of, although that's one of the reasons that I'm interested in that. And with the reception held at the Mutter Museum, I thought this is a good time to talk about something adjacent to digital preservation, and that's digital estate management and what happens to your stuff after you die. So these are all platform agnostic questions, because if I list all the platforms connected to my personal digital estate, there's dozens, and I just list them, off the top of my head, and there's probably a bunch that I'm not thinking of, because software is designed with life in mind, and all of our behaviors reflect this. We can't wait to post pictures of children, friends, graduations, weddings, but we engage the end of life very quietly. We're moving away from the shoebox of memories that gets passed down toward estates made of light. And how cool is that for a minute? We're building Sagan star stuff all the time. Everybody in this room is doing that. It's very cool. Humans are collectors of this sort of thing, and when we grieve, we store that loss. We want to locate our grief in the known and accessible. So our longing to store a loss is a wish for a memorial space or possession. What Margaret Gibson calls a guarantee of the presence of the absent other, which is the coolest thing I've ever read that wasn't written by Bethany Nowitzki. So unlike memory objects that are passed down through generations, digital lives aren't consolidated in a known space. It's not like you go to a cemetery. It's kind of everywhere. They're scattered throughout different software. They're mediated through multiple expressions of self, through different platforms, and they range from the mundane but new areas of loss for the living to negotiate, like bill pay systems and frequent flyer miles, to the space between your LinkedIn profile and your throwaway Reddit account. So together they form this kaleidoscope of metadata about the self that the digital allows us to affirm, attenuate, and with great effort destroy. Unless you had a GeoCities site. I totally had a GeoCities site, and I worry about what Ian's going to find someday. So most of us think that social media is kind of the only part of this discussion. How many of you are connected online to somebody who passed away? Yeah, it's a lot. This, I think, is especially important in this room because so many of us are working on amazing things. What happens to that work and the communities who engage with that work if anything happens to you? I don't want to say if you win the lottery, because not everybody's going to win the lottery. All of us are going to pass away. So digital estate management is part of responsible stewardship of the things that we build, the tools we create, and the communities that ultimately rely on the maintenance and migration of our systems. It's important because managing the assets you leave behind is part of the grieving process too for your friends and family and colleagues. And also this is just good project management. Not speaking of death, people leave institutions all the time without transferring files. It's such a pain. Well, I don't have access to that Dropbox folder anymore because they left and they didn't give me permissions before, so it happens all the time. So as much as we're starting to work with open source projects, it's not going to help anybody if it's sitting in a file nobody can see and nobody will have access to ever. This is an abbreviated talk, so I wanted to discuss a couple of things you can do right now. You can have a trusted digital executor. However you want to set this up is up to you, but someone you trust who would have access. Google has an inactive account manager, which is the most creepy Orwellian thing you could possibly call it. Where you'll get periodic reminders about who your contact is and what data they have access to on your sort of collected Google accounts if you don't log in for a certain period of time. The second thing I would do once you have that person in mind is create an inventory of everything in your digital estate, and that might include images, video, books, music. Like I talked with one person who said that their grandmother had a Kindle with tons of books that she loved to read, and she doesn't have access to that anymore. She really wants to engage with the memory of her grandparent that way, and she can't. Let's see, other media, documents, other written content, and that means everything, even your really embarrassing MySpace, LiveJournal, etc. Now ancient platform thing and all social media. And for me, that also includes, and for a lot of people in here, it would a list of accounts that are scheduled to withdraw from your bank account, because that would suck for your family to have the lights go off when that happens. I'm out of time, but if you are into this, find me at Mooter and we will have a chat.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Yuka Egsa. I'm come from Japan. And my title is You Can Participate in OSS Project even if you do not write programs. I would like to talk it from my experiences with OSS ILS system Next.eng. Next.eng is an open source integrated library system. It's developed since 2007 and built on top of Ruby on Rails and Solr. You can use it in this URL. developments of NextL are involuntary, and there are many contributors from various backgrounds. At least 7 libraries, mainly in special libraries, are using NextL. So, what are we doing with this open source software project? To write programs is of course, and to write tests is certainly. But there are many things in addition to write codes for OSS project. Let me introduce what I have doing for NextL Eng project. First is to write documents. And many engineers love coding, but do not like write documents. So I write documents. Second is to use it and to report it bugs. If you install and use a system manually, you frequently find bugs. Auto testing is cool, but it fails to catch new bugs, so we need testing by manual. So I install Eng and use and report bugs. And third is to confirm bug fixed. If coder says, I fixed it, but you should not believe it, because sometimes it is not fixed. So I check it. For example, he says, I fixed it, waiting for checking, but I check it. There are many wrong errors, so you fix it. So there are many other things to do for OSS project. To think about functions and to think your design, and you can do it if you have stencil and sheet of paper, and to manage event, etc., etc. Oh, sorry. Sorry. And last slide is, so you can make a huge contribution if you do not write programs. So there are many things to do other than just coding for OSS project. You can participate in OSS project even if you do not write programs. So let's join OSS project without any sense of hesitation. Thanks.
All right, up next we have XFR Collective. Is your stuff all, do we have a Uzi what's it called? Excuse me while I stumble around. This is why I make such a great presenter, or such a great MC. It's because most of the time I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Yes, it's the one that says XFR on it. That makes sense. All right.
Let's bring this down. And it's actually pronounced transfer. So, hi. I'm Lorena Ramirez Lopez. I'm a part of a nonprofit organization called Transfer Collective. Transfer Collective emerged from the new museum exhibit called Transfer Station back in New York, 2013. It was an 8-week exhibit where people would sign up and have their zip drives, floppies, tapes, basically any obsolete format to digitize and transfer the data. It was really sweet. So a few amazing people from Transfer Station wanted to continue and created Transfer Collective. So who are we? So members of Transfer Collective are volunteers, which means we have other jobs, we have other projects, we sometimes have social lives, but we try and have weekly meetings, research, and share resources, and we have subcommittees based on responsibilities. What do we do? We partner with artists, activists, individuals, and groups to lower their barriers in preserving at-risk audiovisual material and media. How do we do this? A lot of it is with donated equipment, eBay, and we transfer and digitize data using software like open source tools like vRecord, and we plug in. So there we have like our regular station. We use vRecord, and we plug in our USB, and we upload the videos and basic metadata like title, creator. We started including Creative Commons licenses, and we upload these to Internet Archive for access. And we do a lot of troubleshooting, a lot. And as volunteers, we try to know all these mistakes and all our progress so we can share what happened. And why do we do this? It's important. Digitizing formats is a common, digitizing old formats is a common need for people and for artists, and it's a discussion we try to have with our partners, other archivists, and hopefully with you guys. And so, yeah.
All right. National Digital Stewardship Residency, which I'm guessing is the one left that I haven't used yet. Why are there so many of these useless windows open, Dre? There we go. Oh, come on, really? Uh-oh. It's okay, we still have like 2 minutes left from the last lightning talk. Hey, it worked. All right.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Frameout. I am here to talk about the National Digital Stewardship Residency Program. If you guys were here for the very first talk this morning with Shira Peltzman and Alice Prale, you guys have already seen some of the results of the National Digital Stewardship Residency Program. So the program that I'm a part of, I'm the program manager for the American Archive of Public Broadcasting National Digital Stewardship Residency Program. The program overall it started at the Library of Congress. There have been local programs in New York and Boston, and we're going to be the first regional program. So the role of the residency program is to prep the next generation of digital stewardship professionals, librarians and archivists who are prepared to go out and handle digital materials and are trained in stewarding them and working with them for the long term. The goal is to build and strengthen a community of digital stewardship. So the program places residents who have just come out of library school or been in the workforce for less than 2 years. It's an early career residency program, and it's funded by grants from IMLS. And so they go take funded positions for, in the past it's been 9 months. Our program is 10 months. Future programs will probably be a year. Actually, I think the current program in DC is in fact a year. To go work on a digital stewardship project in an institution that's applied to have a resident and designed a project for that purpose. So these institutions look at what they need, they design a project around a digital need, and then they submit them to whatever organization is running the residency program. They'll select projects based on whether it seems like it would provide a good experience for a resident as well as being of value to the institution. Then residents apply, and the institutions work with the hosting organization to select residents to go and take that job for a year. And then the goal is that those institutions will work more closely together and have a better idea of what's going on. In the different cities and the different organizations that are hosting NDSR programs will work more closely together and have a better idea of what's going on in those different communities. And the residents will become a cohort, work with experienced digital preservation and digital stewardship professionals, and then form communities of their own. So at the American Archive of Public Broadcasting, which we're based out of WGBH, we're a partnership between WGBH and the Library of Congress. Our goal is to preserve public media, public television and radio from around the country. And part of preserving public television and radio from around the country is getting more digital librarianship, digital stewardship, digital preservation experience into public media stations so that as digital programs are being created, they can then be saved. So this is just a map of all of the stations around the country that are part of the American Archive. So although previously all the NDSR programs had been based in an area, regionally, so New York, Metro of New York said, okay, we're going to work with local cultural heritage organizations and the universities and museums and archives in New York and send residents there. We thought we were going to try and send them all around the country focused on digital preservation to try and make a difference in this area. So these are our list of hosts. It's all public television stations. Some of them have well-established archives departments. Some of them have maybe one librarian or archivist. Some of them have no librarians and archivists. And we're going to be sending residents to all of these stations to participate in a digital stewardship project. So my lightning talk today is partly a recruitment pitch for if anyone's currently a student or looking for 1 year out of grad school and looking for a job. We're accepting applications right now. If you're interested in working on metadata, linked data, digitization, digital asset management, developing digital preservation policies, all of these are part of the various projects that we're doing. I think this is a slide that didn't come through. But I also want to make a pitch for you guys to think about the needs of your digital needs of your cultural heritage communities. Because IMLS is also taking proposals for new national digital stewardship residency projects. It can be, if you have a need, if you're part of a community where you see a need for more digital stewardship expertise, for more discussions of digital preservation, for someone to just get, in understaffed areas, for someone just to get people in there to do the work, that's a good starting pitch for a proposal. And the idea of the program overall is to make the digital stewardship and preservation conversation bigger and pull more and more people in. And so that's what I'd like to encourage people to do and to start thinking about. Thanks.
All right. Next up is a lightning talk called More Bumbling by Dre, while he gets Booyun's slides on. Just a moment. We talked about getting your slides on the machine during break, people. I don't know what happened. Oh, yeah? I'm going to blame her. Okay, fine. Not your fault. Macintosh. I know. I put the thumb drive in, and it's not showing up in the spot where I usually expect thumb drives to show. Is this one? No, that's something else. See, it's a good thing that everyone was so quick, because this means that I can bumble or any of the Hydra. All right, there we go. That part I can figure out. We'll just do this from the USB drive because that's the point that I think everyone is at, especially me. All right, next up is Booyun with visualizing library data. With these phones up here.
Hi everyone, my name is Booyun Kim and I'm at University of Maryland, Baltimore. I'm the person who signed up for the call for the last 2 empty slots for the lightning talk that was vacant. So I need to let you know that I put together these slides in a lightning speed in the last 20 minutes, so expect to see some typos. Okay, so I wanted to talk about visualizing library data because I think a lot of us are asked to do this at our workplace. But data for what, right? So we have a lot of data and that's really good and wonderful, but what is the purpose for us to, work with data? Like what is the goal that we have in mind? So we have a lot of data and we usually use data for proving the usage of library collections and services, right? So this is sort of like data visualization for like vanity dashboard of some sort. So that can be one use of data. Another kind of data visualization that we do is for better decision making. So a lot of times we say, well, don't we have some data for that? And then maybe we can, based upon the data, make the decision, right? So the perennial questions that many of us are asked by library administration or other librarians is like, what data do we exactly have? And what does the data tell us? And a lot of times we get asked, and we got asked this question at my library as well. So we decided to build a prototype, right? So we named this project LibStats. It was a very small project, so I worked on it with one of my developers on my team, Jack Burke, and he did a really wonderful job. So we didn't know exactly what questions we want to answer, so we started by inventorying all data sources that we have that is programmable through either connecting to the backend databases we have or through a vendor-provided API. Then we made a lot of charts and graphs, about 60 to 70, and then we showed it to the senior administration to see if this is in any way useful. So we didn't exactly know what we are looking for, but we just decided to look at the data that we have as much as we can. So these are some of the data sources, and I'm sure you will find a similar list at your workplace if you look at it. So ClickStats is a homegrown reference service tracking system, so we actually have a number of what kind of services are required, and we answered. And workshop teaching statistics for the instructional activities that librarians do. And we have Aleph stats, we have Iliad stats, we have EDS stats that comes from counter-stats data. We have Google Analytics for our website. We have YouTube, we have Twitter, we have LibGuides, we have LibAnswers, we have LibCal. So some of these are our own databases, or they are available through the API. So I cannot really demo the LibStats page itself because it's through VPN, so I just made a lot of screenshots during the break. So for example, this is like information desk services stats throughout the week. So once we had this bubble chart, the y-axis is the time of the day, and the x-axis is like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? So one of the things that stood out for me is that, oh, actually Thursday night is pretty busy, right? I did not expect that. Library website views throughout the week, and it seems that even when it's most quiet time, our website is being viewed at least 400 or more times. People do not use combined search in our Aleph, so we know this, but now it's data-driven, right? So you can completely cast away. Library workshops, so you can see the trend that the number of registrants for library workshops is about the same between 2010 and 2015, but we are offering way more sessions. So that means that less number of people are actually registering for library workshops. Users from which school signed the most for the library workshops, in our case, is medical school. So these kind of examples are endless, and you have to look through the data, and once you visualize and have charts, these are really easy to catch, right? So here are the count of the total full text requests in our EDS, denied request for certain books, so you can use this in order to build your collection or a particular database. And Iliad stats, we also have it like this way visualized. And which day people return most library books, and the answer in our case is Monday. So what I have learned from this little project is that, so after going through all of these, and this is just a sample of what we have, which is like over 70, is this useful enough, right? Is this like, okay, so does that answer the question that we originally posed? What data do we have, and what does the data tell us, right? And it's not exactly clear because some observations are useful, but we do not know what questions we wanted to answer in the beginning. So what I wanted to share is that perhaps before you go in to look at the data and visualize it, you would like to clarify the questions first, and then you will help your way through your inquiry. Thank you.
All right, thank you to all of our lightning talkers once again. We're also schedule, even though like more lightning talks. No, I can't. I can't do it. I just can't do it. All right, so let's. What's that? Okay, well that's what I was going to suggest. First of all, Whitney, do you want to come get your phone? All right, one phone. Let's see who gets the phone, shall we? All right, let's switch to the projector again. I'll do some more giveaways because we have time to do giveaways. I'm getting this. Sean does not get another thing. All right. Ready? Ready? Huh? All right, let's go. Everyone should pick someone they know and stare at their name and then groan when they disappear. I don't think my name is on this list. Wait a minute. Oh. Catherine. All right. Oh, and they're perfectly positioned even. And gets the manga books. Very nice. Yeah, I don't know how those didn't go in the first giveaway. Someone really needs an XML editor that badly? I don't know. All right. I'll do two more, let's say. Why not? Do we have enough to like give two more away right now? Oh, I only gave away 4 last time. We had a budget of 7 anyway. Yeah. All right. Ah! All right, that screen's still working. Everyone just crane their necks. It's gonna be not here. Did I hear that? Is that the truth? Not here. All right. So, you must be present to win, except in Nebraska. I wonder if I can secretly control the outcome by clicking on a name. Nope. Elvia Arroyo Ramirez. Yes? No? Anyone? Not here for me to complain about my butchering their name? No? All right. All right. You can listen to me make weird noises. One more go. I guess not. We have one more after this to give away, don't we? Corey's still on there. Nope, Corey's gone. Shouldn't have said anything. Shannon Morelli. Anyone? Yes! We have a winner. All right, so this will be our final prize for the day, and then we'll move on to other announcements. I accidentally clicked on Adrian's name. It's still there. Oh. Rose. Tim Chihuahua. Is that how you say it? Chihuahua? Is that right? Yeah? All right. Thank you. All right. Okay, before Sean comes up to give all the thank yous for tonight's awesome thing, is there any other announcements that need to be announced today? All right, Sean, it's all you.
Hi, thanks a lot, Trey. I just wanted to say, if Chris Barr is in the audience, maybe he could come up here because he's going to talk a little bit after me, and I'm going to be very brief, but I just want to say thank you, first of all, to all of our sponsors, but normally sometimes we actually say the name of the sponsors for the giveaways. I just want to do a shout out to them because it's kind of selection at the table. But we have Rosenfeld Media books. We have Safari Books Online license for a year. We have JetBrains software licenses, Oxygen XML editor licenses, and GitHub memberships for private repos and things like that. So just a round of applause for them for, thank you. Yeah. For providing our giveaways. I also want to just make sure that everybody in here is aware of the reception that's going on tonight at the Mutter Museum. If you aren't, there's on the website under the venues navigational link. There is information about that, and if you need any further convincing, that page will convince you that you should go to that if you weren't already planning on it. We have not only great food, and Joe Lucia, who is instrumental in bringing code4lib to Philly from Temple University Libraries. His band is going to be playing. It's an all-librarian band called the Subfields. And it's an acoustic version of the Mark Fields and Bad Data group, so it should be entertaining. And there would be no other place that I would like to have a reception other than the Mutter for code4lib in Philadelphia. So we're really, really happy to be able to do that, and it's in no small part due to the sponsorship of the Knight Foundation. And when they approached us and asked us if they could be part of the reception sponsor, we just thought it was a wonderful, wonderful match. And they've been sponsoring libraries for a really long time. I just read on their website it's like 1971 was the first library grant, and so it's 45 years, and so that's pretty impressive. And so I'm just going to introduce Chris Barr, who is going to tell you about a wonderful opportunity for all of us. If you were inspired by today's talks, which I was, this maybe could give you an outlet for that inspiration. So without any further ado, I'll let him talk about the Knight News Challenge for libraries. A round of applause, please.
Hi, guys. So it's so cool to get to talk to you all. This is actually the second time I've presented to code4lib. I actually had a brief stint in libraries here in Philadelphia where I worked with the team on a project called ViewFind at Villanova University. I'm now in a very different field. I work for a foundation where we make grants in a number of areas. I'm within our media innovation program that's really thinking about how do we make sure that citizens are informed in the digital age. So we've been having these news challenges for a while, and about a year, a little more than a year ago, we did our first on libraries. And we did our first challenge on libraries because as we were doing these challenges on different topics, we kept finding that we kept giving grants to libraries. And it turns out the libraries are thinking about how people are informed in the digital age and doing really incredible work in that arena. So we wanted to concentrate even more on innovation within that space. So what we're doing this time around, this is a $3 million challenge where we're giving grants to folks who answer a very simple question that you can find at newschallenge.org. That question is, how might libraries serve 21st century information needs? Very broad. You can fit anything under the sun within that. The thing that I would note is this is really about innovating. This is about us helping the field with sort of riskier projects, right? Trying new things that maybe you couldn't do because you don't have the funding or the time or things to do it, to partner with others in new ways. And despite the fact that it says, how can libraries, we think about that very broadly. So we encourage partnerships, we encourage people who are thinking in library-like ways to think about how they would address these challenges. Obviously, there's a large digital component to the way that we think. We're responding to the changes being brought to us by the internet and new digital technology, people walking around with these things in their hands. But we're also thinking that all the solutions to those challenges aren't necessarily digital. So that's not to say that you have to be coding and making those kinds of projects, but there's lots of opportunity here. The challenge itself, the application window, is open for about 2 weeks, 13 days left. And it's a pretty simple application. So there's like 5 questions. What do you want to make? Who the heck are you? How is this going to advance the field of libraries? It's really easy to apply. In addition, it's an open application process. So even if you're not applying, I highly recommend checking it out because it tends to be a nice sort of bucket of ideas to mine and to meet people who are thinking about things that you might be thinking about as well. So check it out, newschallenge.org. There's about 2 weeks left to apply. And if you have any questions, I'll be at the reception. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris. One last thing before we let you go for the day. Getting to the reception, we have buses that will be outside of the main lobby of the hotel. They'll be lining up, I think, starting at 5, and they will take you to the museum. They will come back here, and I think the last bus may be around 8 tonight, if I'm not mistaken, and it is walkable if you happen to want to eat or miss the last bus or whatever. It is definitely walkable, but it will help get people there and back if you want it. So the buses will be running continuously. Okay, thank you very much, and see you tomorrow.